morning, good evening, and good afternoon. My name is Staff Sergeant Samuel Kroll with the North Dakota National Guard's Public Affairs Office. I have a very special guest today with me, Chief Warrant Officer 5, Tim Quintus. How's it going?
Just fine. Happy to be here.
Yeah. How's retirement?
It is awesome.
Awesome.
It comes highly recommended, and now I can also recommend.
Right on. So, where are you from? Let's start off with that. How'd you get in the Guard? Just kind of give me a brief story of where you're from and how you ended up joining the military.
Okay. Well, originally I'm from Glenollen. We're a small farm north of there, and grew up there. Went to high school in Glenollen. Joined the Air Force after. Kind of always been interested in flying. You know, being fairly close to Minot Air Force Base, always had fighters flying over, and occasionally a B-52 or whatever. So, you know, that was always kind of cool in my youth. So I figured, why not try to pursue that? And of course, well, the best way to do that is the Air Force, or at least that's what I thought. So joined the Air Force as an avionics tech, because I was always interested in electronics and stuff too. So I was figured, why not? That's kind of cool. So I did that. Was stationed at Grand Forks Air Base. Welcomed in the B-1s. B-52s were just leaving there when I got up there. Spent about 2.5 years there, and they had a program that's called Pell's Chase, where you could get out, join the Guard, and finish your time out that way. And so I figured, well, you know, I was going to continue pursuing my flying degree, so I was working on my bachelor's degree, and so went down to Fargo, and I was actually in the Air National Guard for a little bit, for about a year. And I was getting close to timing out because it was 26 and a half. You had to be at flight school and that kind of thing. So I was like, getting a little close there. So heard about this warrant officer of flight thing from the Army, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Didn't agree. So applied for that. Made it through that process, got picked up, and they changed the time requirements or age requirements in the Air Force because they were short pilots at the time. So then it was 31.
No.
So it's kind of like that whole bird in the hand kind of thing.
Yeah.
And how different can it be, you know? Well, it's pretty different. But,
Yeah.
But it was cool. So I went back active duty in 90. Had to go through basic training again and all that stuff. And then warrant officer of candidate school and flight school. And spent 10 years on active duty, and we can talk about the assignments here in a little bit. But got out in 2000, come back just because I was deploying a lot, and was married, had a couple kids, and 4 kids, and I was like, let's get out and put some roots down and settle things down. Of course, then 9/11 happened, and boom, there we go again. You know, I was deploying all over the place in the Guard this time. But
wow, that's crazy. So I mean, you farm kid out of Glenollen, you know, and then Minot Air Force Base, you go Air Guard, and then some, I'm assuming, Army recruiter said,
No,
no, not even an Army recruiter tried to snag you from. So how did you find out about the Army Guard's pilot program with the Blackhawks? Or they I'm assuming at the time Hueys, or maybe not.
Well, actually, it was and it was Legacy Aircraft at the time, but or what we call Legacy Aircraft now.
Sure.
But no, I don't remember if it was. I don't even think it was a TV ad. You know, obviously we didn't have internet at the time and all that happy stuff. You know,
Yeah.
so it was just. I think maybe it was a commercial, or somebody mentioned it. You know, of course, Air Force doesn't have warrant officers, so
Right.
it's like, what the hell's a warrant officer? You know, it's just like, but they fly, so that's cool.
Right.
You know, so I did stop at a recruiter then, and I was like, hey, I'm interested in doing this, and of course it was like, why don't you enlist in the Army first? And I'm already there. I've already enlisted. I think I kind of know that program. So then it went, you know, well, first you got to take the FAST test, which is what's that? You know, it's flight aptitude test. So I did that. I got a 135 or something on that. And I was like, hey, is that a good score? He's like, yeah, it's a really good score, you know. So, and then it just went on. Had to go get a flight physical and all that stuff. And actually, at the time, I was down in Arizona for a little bit. Had a couple buddies of mine that were just hanging out for a couple months down there. And so I was kind of working through there. And it just seemed like it was really slow rolling. So came back up to North Dakota and talked to the recruiter down there. And they're like, right on, here you go. You know, it's all your paperwork's done and stuff. So just had a board and
Start over.
yeah, here we are. You know, so.
Heck. So you transferred to the. So I might be wrong on this. So you transferred to the active army from the air.
Yeah, I went back active duty.
Active
Yep.
army.
Yep.
So you were, how long were you on active army after coming back?
10 years.
10
So
years,
I went
10 years.
went to flight school in '90 and got out December 31st of 1999. So right before the millennium.
Yeah.
You know, the 2000, that was the big Y2K. You know, I was like, I'm going to get out before all the systems crash and they lose my paperwork and stuff, you know. So, but yeah, then signed up, I think 3 days later.
Sure.
You know, and of course, when you get out of active duty, they've got recruiters there,
Right.
you know, hey, we want you on the guard, blah, blah, blah. And I, you know, still love flying and stuff. But I was like, yeah, it sounds great, you know, so. And I had come back and interviewed with SAO
Sure.
and stuff too, to make sure that we were a fit and all that, you know. So beforehand, but so that was kind of, I'm not going to say pre-position or pre-planned,
Right.
but it was part of the exiting process
Yeah,
on active duty.
So another thing you brought up was, so when you were in you said you've gone on many deployments. What are some of the deployments you were on when you were either air or army?
So, well, I'll start out. So,
Sure.
when I went through flight school, actually started flying Hueys. That was the primary aircraft at the time. Actually, I just switched over from the 55s. But so it started that, and then they tracked you out depending on Army needs and what you want and all this other stuff. So I ended up scout tracking, which was the AH-58, which was not my first choice, but is what it is. And at the time, they said I'd get a follow-on Apache course, which I did not, because after I graduated, and I got distinguished grad, and and I come back with orders saying, hey, you're going to Korea in 47s.
Wow.
I was like, I really don't want to go to Korea in 47s. Just been married, or just gotten married here a few months prior, and it's like unaccompanied tour right off the bat, you know.
Right.
So called PERSCOM, and they were like, we've got openings, Cobras in Germany. You know, wanted to do that rig, so did the AQC, the qualification course for Cobras, and that's how I got in the Cobras, and off to Fulda, Germany, which of course was the Fulda Gap at the time. That was still kind of hot and heavy, and actually the wall had just come down. Now,
Wow.
you know, I came in under Reagan, of course.
Sure.
You know, so a few generations of presidents there too already, but but we were still flying the wall because it was still pretty hot, or not the wall, but the border, East-West German border, and so I did that for a year. But of course, at that time, that was '90, and the Army was just starting to divest itself of the AH-1s, the Cobras. So they were getting, I think, 58 Ds up in Fulda, and so it was, hey, we're going to transfer you to a different Cobra unit in Germany, or we've got openings down in Mannheim flying Hueys if you want to do a VIP unit. So I was like, that sounds cool. I'll do that for a year, you know, or a couple of years. So ended up doing that, and let's see, my first daughter was born then in Mannheim. Actually in Heidelberg is where she was born, but so I did that for a little over a year, and that's about the time Somalia was kicking off. So sure enough, I get orders going to Fort Drum next, or going to Somalia via Fort Drum. So that was my first deployment. Actual combat deployment was Somalia, flying Cobras then. So, and to be fair, October, 3rd, 4th, I actually got in country about October 10th. So my company and my battalion was involved in that. But I think there were 7 or 8 of us that got to Fort Drum about the same time, and so as pilots, you have to go through a RO progression or readiness level progression. So needed to get trained up a little bit before we deployed. So they kept us back. We were attached to it was actually a little cavalry squadron there, also Cobras, that had just come back from Somalia, and they got us spooled up, and it was like lickety split. Here, we need to get her done and get you down there. So got that done. Next C5 out, we're heading on down, and it was so of course that happened, but it was obviously still pretty hot and heavy when we came in, and was there till February, and that just led into the next year, which was Haiti.
Okay.
So got back, and of course that was spooling up, and that was what the heck was that? Operation Restore Democracy, I think was the name of that. And I don't know if you care or the history on that, but
Sure.
Basically they had elections. The president didn't want to step down to Haiti, and so they were like, "Yeah, we're going to help you step down." So we ended up, and that was kind of cool. That was unique just because we took an aircraft carrier down, so we had to get carrier qualled with the helicopters, and did that on the Roosevelt, and then a couple weeks later, or the next week, we flew all of our Cobras down to Virginia and loaded on the Eisenhower, and it was pretty cool. It was actually historic. First time an aircraft carrier was used to haul strictly helicopters.
Wow.
So that was kind of cool. And for the Navy, it was the first time that they had a aircraft carrier captain that was a helicopter pilot. So he was just loving it,
So that was pretty cool. True for everyone.
Yeah. So it was cool. So that was a very unique experience. And as we were going down there, it was, we were having ROE briefs, just about every couple hours a day prior, and it was like, we were kind of expecting to get kind of hot and heavy, and then turned into kind of a non-event. We were down there for about 3 months, but there was, it was just cheering in the streets and stuff. So there was really nothing, no firefighting or anything like that. Nothing crazy. It was, but now I will say that when he did leave, we had support ships and stuff that were coming in, some Roros, and all of those guys turned around. So when we landed on the island, the only thing that we had was literally what we carried with us.
Wow.
So we were living there for a bit, and it was nasty hot, which Somalia was too, but
sure.
This is a different way. But so we didn't have good water supplies or anything, so it was pretty austere there for a little bit, until we got things situated and got water pure and stuff going. But
right on. So you go on these deployments, and you're flying the Cobra. What's it like? First off, you're going to, you were in Korea, and then you go to Germany, and then what was it like being a Cobra pilot? And as a younger guy, I've always loved the Apache, first off, just because it's roughly my area of timeline, but the Cobra, what was it like flying the Cobra?
So, again, the legacy aircraft. So, started out in the Huey, which I would equate to like flying a 55 Chevy,
Nice.
Very classic, slow, pretty cool. And flying the Cobra would be like flying a 57 Corvette, So a little bit more of a sports model, but classic,
Sure.
Loved the airframe. When I got to fold in my first assignment, and what was also cool was, so I got to fly with a lot of Vietnam era vets.
Sure.
They're vets now, but so that's really who I cut my teeth with was, these Vietnam era guys, and flying with them is a little different, obviously, than what pilots would produce today, and that is just, it's just what it was. So, my first flight in the Cobra after flight school, we were going out to the field, of course, and I'm flying with. He's a W4, but he had a couple tours in Vietnam. He was actually a Marine enlisted, joined the Army, became a Cobra pilot, went back for 2 more tours as a Cobra guy. So we're the last out to the field, and everybody's kind of set up. And I don't remember why we were in the back for a little bit, but so we get out there and we fly over our field site, and he climbs up. He's got to make a radio call, and climbs up, does a split S, which is upside down, and comes around, and I was like, oh my God, okay, yeah, this is pretty cool. Not something we typically do, but that was my if you want to call it, my welcoming to the actual, because flight school, of course, is flight school, and
sure,
it's yeah, and it was great, the amount of knowledge, and we talk about institutional knowledge and all that stuff, and yeah, it's a thing, and but it continually changes, and it's it just is what it is. But yeah, the Cobra is a fantastic machine. It's, of course, it's a pretty heavy helicopter compared to some of the newer ones are a little more underpowered. So it took some finesse to fly it. I called it more seat of the pants flying with that one than some of your newer aircraft. But yeah, it was fantastic. And then of course after Fort Drum, that's actually when I went to Korea, and I flew Cobras there as well. Gotcha. And same thing. We ended up shutting that unit down. That was half attack over in Korea.
Sure.
And uneventful, but it was cool flying in Korea. It's just pretty mountainous up north and stuff, so that was kind of cool.
A little different than North Dakota.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, mountainous. A couple rolling plains, maybe a
that's
hill
right.
or two
That's
there.
right.
Go out west, get some Rockies,
Yeah, that's it. So, and from there, then I went to Fort Carson, and I actually flew OH-58s there because that's kind of where they were consolidating all the Cobra pilots, because that was one of the last Cobra units in stateside anyway, and so they were way overstrength, and they were like, yeah, we need some 58 guys. You want to fly 58s? So I flew 58s there for a little bit. And as I said, they were getting rid of the Cobras, and they were actually standing up an Apache unit there. So they were asking, hey, anybody want to go Apaches? I was like, yeah, I'll do Apaches. Why not? And so I get orders to go to the qualification course for the Apaches with follow-on orders to Fort Campbell, which was a surprise because I'd just been there, I think, 8 months at Carson, and called him up, and it's like, hey, I've only been here, you're not supposed to PCS, prior to a year or a couple of years or whatever. They're like, yeah, well, we need pilots at Campbell, so you can do Apaches at Campbell, or you can get out. And so I was like, yeah, let me think about that, So chatted with my wife a little bit about that, and I'm like, I kind of wanted to fly the Apaches, so.
Yeah.
So did that. Went to Campbell. Great unit actually. Kind of hard charging, but great people. And that was a lot of the units, especially the ones that I deployed with. And you build camaraderie anyway in those kind of environments. But yeah, great people. Ended up we deployed to Kuwait while I was flying the Apaches. That was about a 3 or 4 month gig, and then came back. Kind of uneventful as well, aside from austere environment again. But
So you said this. We've talked the UH. The U was kind of like a Chevy.
Yep.
Old metal body. Probably had to shift on the column.
Yep, that's right.
And you got a Corvette, which the Cobra. What was the Apache like? If you say Lamborghini, that's a pretty big step up. But I don't know. You sound like a Chevy guy.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far. It's and they're all built for a mission set.
Sure.
So they all have their own personalities and quirks and stuff. Apache was a great machine. A lot of fun to fly. It was obviously built by, they looked at the Cobra, because there was a lot of similarities in that, but way more power, super maneuverable,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, it's pretty fun,
So it was
pretty
like
fun
getting
machine.
a Stingray version of the Corvette, maybe.
Yeah, and a much newer version of that, you know. So yeah, it's pretty nice machine.
Heck yeah. So you get back from Kuwait, and I'm assuming at this point in time you're like, I kind of just want to. I don't know what I want to. Yeah. So I mean, especially after moving to Campbell, after being
Yep.
making that decision to fly Apaches, what brought you from that deployment to then being in the Guard?
So after I got back from that, and my fourth daughter
Mhm.
was born about 10 days prior to Kuwait.
Wow.
You know, so it was one of those things. It was
Sure.
just like, oh my God, here we go again. You know, and you know, it's like, man, I'm missing my oldest. I was probably gone 3 years out of her life already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was just a continuing of that. You know, and looking at the writing on the wall, it was just like, you know, we'll be here 3 years, and then I got to go to Korea or somewhere else again. You know, so it's like, all right, let's get out. And so I did join and that's when I joined the Guard was 2000. You know, and then of course, like I said, 9/11 happened, and here we are. You know,
Right.
Now some of that we had looked at when I was getting out or thinking about getting out. They had some full-time jobs that they were looking at. They had talked about doing some missile security mission with Minot Air Base, which kind of fell through before I actually got out. But so we're kind of like, there's some opportunities here and stuff too, and but we got out, settled down. My wife was teaching, and then, like I said, a year later, 9/11 happened, and things got kind of topsy-turvy anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that being said, so you've had all this experience flying the Cobra, the Apache, and now you're in the Guard, and you know your guys that you grit teeth with were the Vietnam vets who taught you how to do all these crazy things. I mean, just with more maneuver, more powerful aircraft, possibly, right? 9/11 hits, and now you're about to, you're now in the Guard, and what was that? How? I mean, you probably brought so much to the table, but what was it like being that maybe more senior person at the time?
well, now I tell you what, I came into the Guard, and we still had Vietnam era guys here.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
so and now I was going back into the Huey and stuff, and that's okay. You know, I love flying that aircraft. It's so, but stepping back is just a different mentality, and the mission sets are so different anyway. Being an attack guy versus utility,
True.
Just completely different. So it did take a little bit for me to recage and kind of make that shift back to, okay, we're doing this now. This is my mission set. But fantastic people here too, that have been doing it forever.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that I was a senior guy, now I will say that on the tactical side, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I had some different experiences that these guys hadn't had. And well, aside from the Vietnam era guys, they had it, but 20 years removed. So there was some of that. And it's kind of funny because I remember one instance where shortly after I got back, the company was deploying to JRTC. And I was like, you're going to need secure radios, this, and they hadn't played with those in forever. And I said, well, they're not going to let you play down there without that, And, so kind of help, like, here's what you need to do. And so we did that a couple times and got things rolling that way. And, they went. And I hadn't started flying yet. I was before I even started the RO progression and stuff back into Hueys. And, they come back, from JRTC. And like, man, they wouldn't even let us on there without, and I was like, yeah, I'm telling
really?
you, So some things have changed. But, no, it was cool. I mean, just great people coming back here. But it certainly was a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And especially going back to the Huey and stuff, too, after flying what they call advanced aircraft. Now that lasted till 2003 is when we actually started getting our Blackhawks. And then we deployed to Bosnia in 05, 06. So then it was kind of back to the deployment. Now, I thought Bosnia was a great first deployment, for a unit that hadn't done that kind of thing. We weren't getting shot at on a daily basis and that kind of stuff. It was great flying. It's very mountainous over there, so there was some certainly challenging flying. But it was really a good one to cut our teeth in. I thought, it was a lot of fun, and a great group of people that went over. So it's a good time.
Well, and I hear about this all the time. There was an old, so I'm in the band, right? And there's this old pilot, or he's a saxophone player. He was a pilot. I forget his name all the time.
Dennis Conley.
Yes,
he was my former boss, and I actually took his position. Yep.
So Dennis,
great dude.
We would play gigs, and I flew, and all that's like, what? And then when I heard you were coming, I'm like, wait, maybe he probably knows Dennis Connolly then.
Oh yeah.
So,
he's a great guy.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Well, and even Bosnia, like you're saying, good stuff to cut back in the teeth, and I'm even sure for you too. It's like, all right, this is going to be challenging and for flying and stuff like that, but it's not as hot and heavy as, say, previous deployments, especially for a unit that maybe hasn't deployed in a long time to a combat zone. So, so you're getting, and then I'm reading your sheet. Then in 2009, you deployed to Iraq.
Yep.
Holy cow, man! You've got 5 deployments, and how many years were you in?
39 altogether.
39 years.
Yep.
Like that's insane. Like how did you manage it, man?
Yeah, I don't know. It's and yeah, it seems like a lot, but I tell you what, I've known people that have deployed 10, 11, 12 times, It's just insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just kind of roll with the punches, That's nature of the beast. That's what we're here for, really.
Right.
Obviously we have state emergencies and that kind of stuff. But it's the dual hat. That's why Uncle Sam gives us our fun toys to play with, It's because we got to go somewhere with them, at
well
time.
said.
Yeah.
So you're now retired, okay?
Yep.
What's the plan moving forward? What do you got going on?
I get asked that a lot, and I just say, I didn't put in 39 years to keep working,
Right.
So I got plenty of things to keep me busy.
Nice.
Plenty of projects, and really I've got a couple old cars and stuff that I'm working on, and
Nice.
That kind of thing. So
Heck yeah.
home
Is it one of those
projects, you name it.
Is it a Chevy truck?
Actually, it is a GMC truck,
Seriously?
and it is a 57. Maybe that's where that analogy comes from. Anyway,
that's perfect. When you said it, I'm like, oh, he's a car guy. Oh, it's got to be an old truck. That's awesome.
So I actually have an old car and an old truck, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Heck yeah. So you're working on stuff. You're enjoying retired life. It's so well deserved, man. And for you even to come in on now that you are retired to record this episode, like I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no worries.
And this is awesome. As a younger NCO, like we look up to you guys who have been in for 39, pressing that 40-year boundary of max age and stuff, and the experience and stuff. So, first off, like thank you for your incredible many years of service.
Yeah, it's been an honor.
For what you've done for us, and we can't repay you enough. But the last thing I will ask you is what was the most fun time? What's a story? Your most fun moment in flying?
Oh, I don't know, man. There's I've had a lot of fun moments, and they say a lot of times flying is just boredom interrupted by sheer terror. So and yeah, there is some truth in that, but I don't know. That one's kind of a hard one because I can't really just pin a specific moment that was just, because I had so many of them, as part of it. I just love flying with the guys. There's plenty of stories out there, but it was just the whole career. It's there. Certainly some of the deployments, it's one of those $1 million experiences you wouldn't give a dime for, and I actually had a lot of those. And my my career was not a normal progression or a normal career that you see. You typically, when you get picked up in an airframe, that's usually your airframe for your career. Maybe another one if they change out. For me, bouncing through several, because whatever it's been, five aircraft, I think, out of different airframes that I've flown. All different, and that's very unique and fun. It's cool to be able to see all the different aircraft and how they relate to each other and that stuff. The differences, and like I said, they all kind of have their own personalities, and of course they all have personalities within the model that you're flying too. But yeah, I can't say just the most fun. I just, like I said, there's all the experiences that I've had. There have been some that were just fantastic. All of them related to flying, I'm sure. But or the group of people that I was with. I really enjoyed the Bosnia deployment. I just really loved the guys that I was with, and the flying was fun. And it was actually a fairly cool mission. The Iraq one was, again, austere, but it was, it's, you do what you do and get the mission done and stuff. That was pretty cool. I really liked, we haven't talked really much about some of the state missions and stuff. The firefighting, flood duty, that kind of stuff. And that's really a satisfying experience too. When you're helping somebody out, or you see people on the, when we were doing the hydro hammer thing, seeing people on Fox Island waving, and and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool, actually help a brother out, as they say, So
well,
that's
it's home, man.
Yep, so and the firefighting and stuff, if you can help out, make a difference in that, it's all that stuff is cool, be able to answer the call, as they say. So, so I'll miss some of that. Certainly going to miss some of the flying and stuff, but yeah, it was a good experience, and it's time, So, I think the retirement's going to be a good experience too.
Nice.
So,
are you planning to get your own helicopter?
No, that's not going to happen.
Because then we'll see where you're at, and we'll come out and wave.
Yeah, no, they're. For one, they're super expensive to operate anyway, so unless you're doing it as a business. And I just,
sure.
And it takes a lot to stay proficient in them and all that. And that all takes time and stuff. And
sure.
I don't know that I want to dedicate the time to that anymore. So,
yeah. Well, and you've earned this, man. Again, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Over
Appreciate
the career and not what you've done just overseas, for us, and just at home too. I can't the flood duties and the fire response that was even this last year.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love listening to you talk. I feel like we could go for another 5 hours, and I would.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of stories.
But again, thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and enjoy retirement, man. I'm excited to see,
and
you'll have to stop by with that. Chevy, or excuse me, GMC,
yeah, that's
and
right.
the car.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool.
So, again, thank you so much for being on.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah, this is fantastic. But anyway, if you're listening online, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. This was fantastic, and if you haven't seen the photo, we got a photo online of him with some fire trucks shooting some water. Actually, we'll use this as the thumbnail. We'll repost that photo for his last flight. And yeah, if you're interested in flying, do it. Listen it from here.
Yeah,
man, so.
Yeah, I think so too. It's worth the pursuit.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, we will catch you next time.